All right, today we are heading to one of the most mysterious places on the entire planet, Mount Kailash. This is a peak that's absolutely wrapped in legends, a place where stories of strange forces and cosmic secrets are just as common as the snow on its slopes. And we're going to decode those legends together.
I'm sure you've seen claims just like this one bouncing around the internet. You know, stories about climbers aging decades in just a few months, their hair and nails growing at a totally impossible rate. Yeah, these are the kinds of sensational tales that have turned a remote mountain into a viral sensation.
And that brings us to the big question, right? Mount Everest, the tallest peak in the world, has been climbed by thousands of people. So why has Kailash, which is more than 2,200 meters shorter, never been officially conquered? Is it really being protected by some kind of invisible force?
So here's our game plan for figuring this all out. We're going to start with those wild viral mysteries, then explore why it's such a sacred place. After that, we'll get to the bottom of why no one actually climbs it, decode the science behind the legends, and finally uncover what might be the real miracle of Mount Kailash.
Okay, let's dive right into part one and get into the really wild stories that have made this mountain a legend online. I mean, the stories here are just off the charts. They go from the truly bizarre to the totally cosmic. You've got everything from rapid aging to time dilation. There's even one story that claims a group of Siberian climbers aged decades after a single expedition. And then there are the theories that it's not even a mountain at all, but a hollow, man-made pyramid, a portal to another dimension. It's wild stuff. And get this, a lot of it traces back to just one Russian expedition back in 1999.
But before we get into debunking anything, we absolutely have to understand that, for billions of people, Kailash is so much more than just a big rock. It is a true pillar of faith.
So how tall is it? The official height is 6,638 meters. Now that is incredibly tall, but like we said, it's way shorter than Mount Everest. See, the mountain's real power doesn't come from its height, it comes from its spiritual weight.
And this is what makes it so mind-blowingly unique. It's the sacred heart for 4 different major religions. For Hindus, it's the home of Lord Shiva. For Buddhists, it's the home of the Buddha Demchok. For Jains, it's where their first great teacher reached enlightenment. And for followers of the ancient Bon faith, it is the center of the entire universe. This place is a truly global pilgrimage site.
And just to add to the whole mystery of the place, picture this. Right at its base, you have these twin lakes. First, there's Lake Manasarovar. It's freshwater, it's full of life, and it's known as the Lake of the Gods. And literally right next to it, you have Rakshastal, a saltwater lake, totally devoid of life, called the Lake of the Demon. This incredible contrast, sitting side by side, has fueled countless legends all on its own.
Okay, so let's circle back to that big question we asked at the start. Is it an invisible force that keeps people from the top, or is it something else entirely, like faith? Let's dig in.
The popular myth, the one you see everywhere online, is that there's this invisible force field or something. It supposedly protects the mountain by whipping up sudden storms, making climbers completely lost, and causing them to get mysteriously sick the second they try to go up.
But what if I told you the truth is way simpler and honestly way more human? The claim is a mysterious force stops climbers. The reality? It's forbidden. Not by some supernatural entity, but by a deep, profound religious respect that eventually became an actual government ban.
And you can see exactly how this happened right here. Back in '85, Reinhold Messner, we're talking about maybe the greatest mountaineer who ever lived, was offered a permit, and he turned it down, out of respect. Then in 2001, a Spanish team got a permit, and the global outcry from religious groups and mountaineers alike was so huge that the Chinese government just stepped in and banned climbing on Kailash permanently.
Okay, so we've established the climbing ban is human-made. Now, let's use that same logic, that same evidence-based approach, and apply it to all those other mysteries swirling around Kailash.
You hear this all the time, right? That Kailash is in this mathematically perfect spot, with all these distances involving the number 6666. But when you actually look at the data, well, it tells a different story. The claimed distances are on the left, but the actual distances show that while some are kind of close, none of them are exact. The numbers were just rounded to fit a cool-sounding story.
So what about the whole man-made pyramid thing? It's a really compelling idea, but geologists have a very clear answer. Kailash got its amazing shape from totally natural glacial erosion over millions of years, the same process that created other famous pyramid-shaped peaks, like the Matterhorn in the Alps.
And the mystery of those twin lakes? Science has a pretty cool answer for that too. Rakshastal is what's known as an endorheic lake. It's a fancy term that just means it's landlocked. There's no river flowing out of it. So for centuries, as water evaporates, all the salts and minerals get left behind, building up and making the water super salty and unable to support life.
And what about all those stories of a strange force causing headaches, confusion, and sickness? Well, there's a much more common explanation for that. At over 4,000 meters, the lack of oxygen can cause a very real, very dangerous condition called altitude sickness, and its symptoms are exactly what's described in all the myths.
So, where on earth did all the wildest stories come from anyway? Well, it turns out you can trace a lot of them back to one guy, a Dr. Ernst Moldeshev. He was an eye surgeon, not a physicist or a geologist. And when you look at some of his other claims, that mermaids and vampires are real, that he found Dracula's castle, and that superhumans in India talk telepathically, it becomes pretty clear his theories were rooted in science fiction, not scientific fact.
So when you strip away all the pseudoscience and the viral myths, you're left with the real story of Kailash. And honestly, it is way more profound and powerful than any of that other stuff.
Let's just go back to what Reinhold Messner said. His words here really capture the whole thing perfectly. He knew the mountain wasn't the toughest climb in the world, but he understood that to conquer it physically would be to destroy something sacred in the souls of billions of people. The decision not to climb was about respect, not about ability.
And that is the real wonder of Mount Kailash. It's not a secret portal or a time machine. The miracle is a human one. In an age where we have mapped, explored, and conquered just about every corner of our world, we, as a species, collectively looked at this one place and said, no, we'll leave this one alone. Not because we couldn't climb it, but out of pure reverence.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. What does it say about all of us that the most mysterious mountain in the world is protected not by some strange supernatural force, but by our own shared ability to feel awe and our collective agreement that some things are just more valuable when we leave them sacred?